check this out. I met this girl in school and she was like, do not go gentle into that good night. And I was like, two roads diverged in Yellowwood. And she was like, it was the best of times. And I was like, call me Ishmael. And she was like, cradle of civilization. And I was like, cuneiform. And she was like, Locke's theory of knowledge. And I was like, the advent of feminism. And she was like, Wade versus Roe. And I was like, animal rights. And she was like, categorical imperative. And I was like, opiate of the masses. And she was like, teleological proof. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, beer? Let's check this out. I met with this girl from school, and she was like, the weather? And I was like, hockey? And she was like, Moosehead, and I was like, Corona. And she was like, reggae. And I was like, Pez? And she was like, Fraggle Rock. And I was like, Guinness. And she was like, Heineken. And I was like, Amsterdam. She was like, Rotterdam. And I was like, Stalingrad. And she was like, Leningrad. And I was like, vodka? And she was like, vodka. And I was like, Mashu Pishu. And she was like, tequila. And I was like, tequila. And she was like, living la vida loca. And I was like, she bangs, she bangs. And she was like, tequila, tequila, tequila. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, my place? Yeah! Let's check this out. I'm making out with this girl from school and she's like, ooh. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, John Travolta. And I was like, Olivia Newton-John. She was like, ooh. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, blast up. And I was like, giddy up. And she was like, Sammy Sosa. And I was like, Barry Bonds. And she was like, and I was like, And she was like, show me the money. And I was like, you had me at hello. And she's like, oh, baby. And I was like, do it. And she's like, Ernest Goes to Camp. And I was like, Muppets Take Manhattan. And she was like, Gandalf with a hooker. And I was like, oh, Princess Jasmine be peed on. And she was like, oh, baby. And I was like, don't stop. And she was like, John Madden in the shower. And I was like, Mr. T spread eagled. And she was like, Martha Stewart's mammogram. And I was like, Oprah Winfrey's dildo. Yeah! And she was like, your mother with a convict. And I was like, yo mama. And she was like, say what? And I was like, you best believe. And she was like, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I was like, give me a checkup from the neck up. And she's like, talk to the bomb, cause you ain't the bomb. And I was like, whatever. And she was like, psh. And I was like, bitch. And she was like, dick. And I was like, hussy. She was like, simpleton. And I was like, harlot. And she was like, ignoramus. And I was like, canker blossom. And she was like, thou painted maypole. And I was like, thou bolting hutch of beastliness. And she was like, thou huge bombard of sack. And I was like, thou stuffed cloak bag of guts. And she was like, thou reverend in vice. Thou grey iniquity. Thou roasted manning tree ox with pudding in your belly. And I was like, I came already? She was like, me too. And I was like, wow. And she was like, I know. And I was like, see you at school?